So I tried recording this earlier, and it turns out my sound was busted. Should be able to hear me now. I keep talking too close to the mic anyway, so okay. So straight from the top, I got this a lot. A lot of people complain that even before the Barbie movie came out, the Barbie movie was woke. It's gonna be like all this woke BS, communists and stuff. That's not necessarily true, because Barbie movies, generally speaking, they're usually aimed at younger audiences, at girls. As far as I can tell, this Barbie movie is more all ages, that sort of thing. I have actually watched Barbie movies before. They're pretty average and usually pretty memey. They're like, sometimes Barbie herself, the character in these movies, can be pretty based, which is pretty funny. I don't know. But for the most part, it's not aimed towards men, and I know that men would be complaining about it, but men aren't really usually the core audiences of Barbie movies. I mean, it's obvious that they wouldn't be the core audience. It's like you see a Barbie movie, and they're usually like CG, kind of very low budget. You see a Barbie movie, and you're like, no, well, I'll let my kids watch this. You go into the kitchen, or you go do whatever you usually do, and you come back after a while, about maybe an hour or half an hour, usually about 45 minutes. Sometimes it's a length, and you're done. This Barbie movie, of course, is also having its silly antics, especially when you look at the commercials of it. It's just being silly. It is more of a starts as a matriarchal, then they show up in a world with a more patriarchal society. Ken decides he likes it. He says, "Let men rule for once," and they end into a fight, and it's pretty wacky and ridiculous. And then eventually they lose, and then eventually people are like, this matriarchal and patriarchal system's kind of dumb. Let's just be equal. And that's it. And obviously, I didn't really watch this, okay? I can't really afford to go out and watch this at the moment. Not that I would. I wouldn't be pretty embarrassing, but you hear conservatives complain about this. Not just conservatives, liberals too. And I just don't see it as woke. I see it as a Barbie movie. I like to think that along this conservative line, like this Christian conservative line, like "Thou shalt not judge." When you see something, it might look bad. Just don't judge something by its cover. You actively observe it. Don't assume it to be evil. Don't assume it to be good. Just observe it. Keep an open mind. That's how you avoid missing important things, like a lot of conservatives did. And but a lot of like Filipinos, a lot of Vietnamese people did not miss this. And also the Hill did not miss this. I was trying to look up the Barbie, okay? But yeah, the people who were pointing out, explaining why it wasn't like woke, and like, it's like Karlyn Borysenko. I hope I didn't butcher her name. She's not conservative. She's very a bit towards the left, but she's anti-woke, anti-communist, and she's very critical of woke parties and conservative. Is like very critical. So I was taking a look, trying to learn a bit about the Barbie movie, and from her explanations, it's your typical Barbie movie, not aimed at men. But what this Barbie movie did, very unnecessarily, and I mean it's very unnecessarily, it's like subtly anti-Filipino and anti-Vietnamese and anti-Taiwanese, but it's pro-Chinese, I should say. But it kind of grinds my gears that people are complaining about this and they completely ignore this part here. And I'm talking about is the Philippine movie Chinese Mac controversy. So, according to The Hill, the Philippines Movie Television Classification Review, they decided to allow this movie. Vietnam decided to ban it. The reason why is because they displayed China owning the 9-dash line. They displayed China owning these Filipino territories, and that just bugs me the most here. Everyone saw woke, but they didn't see this, and it's very easy to manipulate people to miss something when you merely judge a book by its cover, and that's what a lot of conservatives did. And I really hate that. Okay? But yeah, they display this. They display the 9-dash line. They decide that, that the Philippines, Vietnam, they don't own any of this territory. Those fishing routes, those oil rigs, anything that belongs to all these other countries, they do not belong to them. They belong to China. And that's what I mean. Their Barbie movie is subtly anti-Filipino. And I know I say this because I'm part Filipino. Okay, I've always kept in contact with my family, and had closed my Facebook account for like the second time. I had to renew that. But this is what basically the Barbie is. It's not putting it in your face necessarily. It's in the animated part of the Barbie movie. But the fact of the matter is, people are starting to see wokeism so much, they're ignoring the fact that these movies like Disney, what was the name of this company that was making I don't know. Disney, Barbie, Hollywood, just in general, are basically getting away with the fact that they can insult other countries and claim this, and this about those countries in order to favor China. And that's the biggest problem here. A lot of these so-called woke movies, and there are a lot of woke movies out there, but a lot of these so-called woke movies are pro-Chinese. And that's an even bigger problem. Let me just turn down the dB. I keep getting too close to my mic here, but everyone needs to calm down about these things and pay more attention. Do not assume something at all. Watch the movie and determine things for yourself. Don't just read a description or listen to what another person says. But I can tell you this. A lot of these companies will show things that are very pro-Chinese, and it'll completely insult countries like Japan, Taiwan, Vietnam, even over further south, which the name for some reason escapes me, despite the fact I used to read it on a newspaper. But even the Philippines, like they completely snub these countries. And that's the even bigger problem. Because Hollywood is giving China legitimacy over these territories. And that's very, very dangerous. And I think that's what these conservatives need to pay more attention to. But because they see something as woke, they're very dangerously giving China more credit. by ignoring these other things, these other controversies that Hollywood has been doing. This has been a very huge thing going on in America where more and more people are pro-Chinese. Like Canada is like the president himself. Okay, I shouldn't talk about Canada. Canada has nothing to do with this, even though they do have a lot of pro-Chinese stuff there. But the president himself, for whatever reason, decided to send oil reserves, American oil reserves, to China. Very few people pay attention to that today. Every time people make decisions that are pro-Chinese, it's this pro-Chinese movement, they get ignored for a very, very long time, and the only people that you'll hear even making a ruckus about it, is like people like Tucker Carlson and occasionally Ben Shapiro, but it's becoming less and less talked about because people are so concerned about wokeism. Wokeism is a very big problem in these movies, but they're not concerned about they're not concerned enough about these pro-Chinese things going on in Hollywood. They always get into that bandwagon very, very late into the game, like for a very long time. This has been going on for a long time. They would have these special pro-Chinese schools going on that were basically spying on Americans in universities, I should say. They would have these Chinese things going on, and conservatives just ignored it. Why? Because they were complaining about free education and the like. Completely unaware of the fact that these people are just helping a lot of the Chinese people, bringing people to their cause, targeting like sons and daughters of Chinese immigrants. For the longest time, this had been ignored. They didn't even do anything. The only people that even bothered to do something later on is like the younger generation, like Marco Rubio and some Trump supporters. You don't see older conservatives talking about that until someone brings it up. Some of the younger generation bring that up, and that's a big problem. And that brings me to this. The Barbie is subtly anti-Filipino. It's not woke. It's not being pro-left or whatever. It's just being pro-Chinese. Anyway, I just thought talk about it there. So I'm just gonna mosey on out. I'll take my leave, and you have a good day. I record a lot of video games. Okay, not record, more like live stream nowadays. Although I do occasionally make a video of some of my live streams. Anyway, you want to see me playing video games, go ahead and subscribe. This has nothing to do with video games, although I have used to review things and talk about news in regards to gaming mostly. I think I talked about a movie or two, but that was about it. Anyway, goodbye.